I can see you're a very sincere person, and I can have this conversation with you. And this is a good launching pad off from
Okay.
Richard Fortis because Richard was on the show a few years ago. Didn't expect him to remember me. I didn't even get into that. But what he took away, and I didn't know what I had said, and he didn't give us specifics or what people on my show may have said about his role in the band. Richard Fortis has been in the band longer than Izzy Stradlin. He's
Right.
been in the band for a long time. He's never claimed to have written with Sweet Child of Mine, any of that stuff. He's on Chinese Democracy. He's on the new releases, whatever. But there are still fans that go, "Where's so and so? Where's Izzy in his?"
Right. Right.
He even has a shirt, so hopefully you buy it, and it says, "I don't know where Izzy is," with his
That's
logo
great.
behind it. Isn't that great?
That is great. Yeah.
So, but what he said, it hurt my feelings, and I apologized to him. And he said this wasn't towards me. That he sees, I can't believe he used this word. How unimportant that some fans see his role. That he's just doesn't matter how great of a player he is.
Right.
He's not Izzy. He's not that person. Okay. And he's like, that was a bitter pill to swallow, but I understand it. I
Right.
know how, and I gave him my opinion, which is which is the truth. I know how important his role is. There may not be a current version of Guns N' Roses without him, and that's the truth.
Right.
You don't know if how well he works in that room and makes sure that all those personalities work. There's a reason why it's that lineup today, that it fits, and why they're so successful, and they're going on tour again. What you alluded
Right.
to this year. Is that something that you've to flip it back that you've struggled with, with the revolving door which Guns N' Roses have had with guitarists?
Sure.
With you've been with Skid Row for what, a decade now? Decade
I've been
plus?
with Skid Row for 15 years,
Yeah.
coming up on 15 years. It's that's a really
That's a
uh,
long time.
it is a long time. It's the longest job I've ever held, so that'll tell you by a long shot. So I wasn't qualified to do much else. But it's a really it's a very good question. It's an interesting scenario that you're describing. It's to say I've struggled with it. It's been a challenge, certainly. So to start, people like myself and the Richard Fortis situation and anybody who might be walking into a situation like this, right out of the gate, you're already choosing to work in an industry where thick skin is a requirement, and that's not exclusive to music. That's true of so many industries,
Right.
but entertainment in general, the music industry, you've got to have thick skin, even if you are an original member or you are a multi-platinum artist or an amazing songwriter or whatever the case might be. You still need to, going into it, thick skin is a requirement. And I'm not going to lie, I've had some days or some moments that I was a little bit better equipped to get through it than others. It's a challenge, but but I think for myself, I'm committed to what I do, and I'm very fortunate that I'm in a situation and I'm surrounded by people. We've had our ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. It's a family. Anybody who tells you that being in a band is like a family, they're absolutely right. And it sounds cliche, but it's 100% true. And with that, you certainly have moments or you have days or you have periods of time where it's a little bit easier than others. So yeah, I've definitely, I think struggle is probably the right word. I've been challenged by it, trying to figure out, make sense of your role in something that's much bigger than any one individual. That can be really challenging. And when so many people, the fan base, even if they're not fans, uh, if they're music enthusiasts or if they're record collectors or whomever it is, even if they're not necessarily a fan, people claim a part of it, right? So they claim a part of the history as whether they've been a fan or they've been following the band or they maybe were a fan for a particular era and not so much anymore. Uh, Everybody weighs in on it. So you've really got to, within yourself, figure out how you feel about it and how you feel about your role in things. And that's a roller coaster for sure. So I can relate to that. I'm fortunate. I'm surrounded by some very supportive people. I have found out in my tenure with Skid Row, I if I'm struggling with something, let's talk about it. Let's communicate. Let's support each other. Let's be respectful. Let's really figure out how to make this work for everybody. That's been my experience with the guys, but I can certainly relate to the situations that you're describing.
I appreciate you sharing that. And you're right about the thick skin. I gotta have it in my profession and just in life. You really need it. It's
I
just,
think now more than ever, right? I think with
yeah,
this thing called the internet and just our culture the way it is now, we really do have a culture and a society where everybody has the ability to weigh in on everything. And I don't know if that's always a good thing. It's certainly not a natural thing.
no, it's not.
But it definitely creates a different set of uh, of criteria. I think that on a personal level, I think people need to understand how they need to have a healthy relationship with that and coexist with it because it's not going away. And you also, at the end of the day, have to understand that there are some people out there, no matter what you choose to do, no matter what you do, they're not going to be impressed. They're not going to like it, and and hopefully those are fewer than than not. But that's just the reality of it.
That's the right mindset because yeah, there are those some people who are just like, all right, I'm gonna mentally tap out. Nothing's gonna change here.
Sure.
But also those that you say that are the mainstays in a band, whether it's Guns N' Roses or Skid Row, there are those that are still gonna find something to critique. And
Right.
I know that being a Guns N' Roses and an Axl Rose fan, I don't expect an almost 63-year-old to, be like he's 23 again.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
impossible. So yeah, no matter who it is, it just stinks because I wish everybody could take a step back and just realize they're all people. It's funny. I like how you phrased it. This is the longest job that you've ever had. It's a job. You have a cool ass job,
Right.
but it's a job and you're a person and yeah, it's a public thing, but that shouldn't allow certain people just because you're public doesn't mean you should be allowed to certain open yourself up to certain things that I don't know because you're still a person. You're still. What about you? Because what's your? Do you have any? I know we already talked. You haven't met Richard Ford, Chris crossing paths. Have you met any of the guys? Have you gone to shows? Do you have any history with GNR?
So, not a personal history, unfortunately, but I've been to numerous shows, and as recently as I, I'm doing the math here, 2023, they were doing a lot of the European festivals through the summer of 2023. And we were lucky enough to be on some of those festivals in Europe that summer. So I was able to see, I think, 3 or 4 shows over the
Nice.
summer. Yeah, yeah, which was great. It's really fun to see them in context like that. It's not what I'm used to seeing. Uh, so that would be the last opportunity I had to see them. I'm actually monitoring the schedule and monitoring the dates for this coming year, and hopefully I'll be able to catch one of the shows. So,
Cool.
yeah, but I have not. Unfortunately, I have not had any. I don't have any personal history with any of the guys, other than being a fan for so many years.
Did you see them back in the day as well, or just the
I
current version?
did, yeah, yeah. My memory of exactly when is a little fuzzy. It was
Fair.
the Use Your Illusion era.
Cool.
Yeah, so I did not see kind of, I guess what you would call the original incarnation. I did not see that incarnation of the band perform live, which I would have loved to have done back in the day, but
Okay.
of
No.
course, yeah, wasn't in the cards for me.